Hi, I'm Marilyn San Clemente of Stamp with Marilyn, and welcome to my creative playground. Tonight I'm going to show you the new paper pumpkin kit. This is the paper pumpkin kit. It's actually really nice, pretty scenic cards, and this kit is called Exploring in Color. And the reason why is they've incorporated the new in colors. Oops, this came off of one of my cards. Okay, they're exploring the new in colors this month. Okay, I've got a little sample here. So there is boho blue, which is obviously the sky. There's this wheat pattern, which you can see is in the fields and in the wheat here. Moody mauve. Took me a minute. I still haven't learned all these colors. We have moody mauve. We have copper clay, which I think is my favorite. And then we have pebbled path, which you can see is in the mountains here. And the copper clay is throughout on these. It's in the island over here. Whoops. You can see it in the island. You can see it in the canoe. You can also see it in the path. And the moody mauve is right here in one of the embellishments. And then the wheat you can see is in the fields. And the pebbled path is in the binoculars and also the, oh, you can't see that, sorry, I'm sorry. Let me pull that down. The compass. It's going to take me a minute. And then the boho blue, of course, is in the skies. This is the Exploring in Color paper pumpkin kit. And then next month's kit is going to coordinate with the Countryside Corners, which is this really cool set. Oh, I didn't pull mine up. And there's some really pretty paper that goes with it, and there's an embossing folder, and then dies that cut out all these little rings. You can stamp this. This is one large stamp. You can stamp it, and then there's dies that cut the little rings out. And there will be dies available that you can order, but I would suggest ordering them sooner rather than later because they do go out of stock very, very quickly. And you can scan the QR code here, or the number for these dies is 163192. So Zaina, you must be either in Australia or New Zealand if you can't get the kits. That's too bad. The kits are nice. So, and then with this month's kit, there was an extra set of cards. Those are here. So I'm going to show you a couple of ideas for these. And actually, I think these cards would be really, really good for Father's Day cards. Masculine. You know, they're definitely very masculine. And I like the sayings that are on them. I really like this. It doesn't matter where you're going, it's who's beside you, which I think is great. That would be excellent for Father's Day. Life is meant for good friends and great adventures. And this one's just a happy birthday, and it's got these cute little buffalo on it. So what I tried to do today was I went through and tried to match up some sets that go with this to make things that will fit on these cards, so you can augment the cards. And here's these three cards, and as you can tell, it's the front and the back. There's the buffalo, and here's this one, and then these are the envelopes. The envelopes are really pretty. They've got the mountains on them. They've got this field with flowers, and then also the prairie with the buffalo on it. So I really like those. So those are the three cards. The paper pumpkin kits are a great value. They come with 3 sets of 3 cards, so 9 cards in total, and all the supplies that you need to make the 9 cards, and then also 9 envelopes as well. And these are the supplies that came in this month's paper pumpkin kit, minus my tools. We got a little roll of the baker's twine. We got lots of these little labels. to stamp messages on. Oops. And we also got some colored labels as well, which you can see on this card. There's one that's underneath here, and then there's another one that's underneath here. And then we got these cute little binoculars, and we got the compass. And with that came this stamp set, and there's a hiking boot, there's a coffee cup, and then there's another compass, so we can stamp that and cut that out if we want. And actually, I did grab one of my circle punches. It does fit in the 1 1/4 inch circle, but it will cut off just that little top ring there. And then we got all the different sayings that I was reading. And then also this additional saying, which is, cheers to another adventure. So I think that's a really good saying also. Definitely good for camping. So anyway, so I think that these would be great cards for Father's Day. So let's get started. And I will show you a couple of ideas for that. So these are the generic cards as they come in the kit. I always make one set of the generic cards so that you can see how the kit comes. So there's this pretty card with the mountains in the background. This kind of looks like New Hampshire since I'm in Massachusetts, and I am right on the border of New Hampshire, but this kind of looks like the mountains in New Hampshire. Here's the pretty plains with the buffalo. And there was actually someone in town that had buffalo for a while, but that farm is gone, unfortunately. And then here's a pretty lake. So this looks like this could also be one of the lakes in New Hampshire, Lake Winnipesaukee, or one of the other lakes up that way, Mount Centipede. There's a lot of lakes around Mount Centipede, which is one of the big skiing mountains in this area. These are the extra cards that you can purchase, and I'm going to use these and kind of augment them a little bit. And like I said before, those would be good for Father's Day as well. So, and then the other thing that came in this kit was these fun little stickers, and I haven't seen these before. I haven't. I don't think that they've done that before. Put stickers in the kit. So, and the other great thing about Paper Pumpkin is it comes with all the supplies that you need. So you receive all the supplies to make 9 cards, usually 3 different patterns. They're not always cards. Sometimes they're boxes and things, depending upon what time of year it is and what's coming up. You get a sheet of dimensionals, you get a sheet of glue dots that you can use, and you also receive a cute little ink spot, which is great because this is copper clay, and that's one of the new colors, and I don't have a spot for that, so that's great. And a lot of times they'll come with embellishments. This kit didn't. So I pulled out the brushed metallic embellishments because I thought those would work really well with this. So let's decorate those couple of cards, the generic ones, while I have them out. And I like this brushed, I think that's nickel. Is that like Nickelback, the group, the music? Anyway, so let's add that. And this one, let's do the gold on this one. So, and again, sometimes there are embellishments included, but there weren't this time. So I just decided to add a few, and I'm going to add the copper. And I was glad to see that these stayed because I think that these are good. These are good embellishments for masculine type cards. And this is the card that my string came off of. So I did have a bow wrapped around here. And it must have slipped off, probably because I didn't put glue on that top piece. But anyway, so it would look like that. So I took 2 different sets that I have that had some, what I thought would be good matching components. And one is the Trees for Sale set. Some of you may have remembered this from the last Christmas. This was in the holiday catalog last fall. And it had these really cute trees, and it has the dog. And so I stamped a bunch of the trees. And then this set, Inspired Thoughts, just retired recently as part of the annual catalog. But what I liked about this is it has this row of trees, and then it has these leaves that you can cut out. but it just also has some really nice sayings in it too. So what I did was I pre-cut a bunch of things, and this is from the Inspired Thoughts. So I thought I can cut some of these trees apart and use some of those, and then this is the greenery for the trees. And then the Trees for Sale set had this cute little camper, and then it has, I stamped a bunch of trees, and there were some dogs in there too, so I stamped a couple of dogs, so we can use those. So just some extra things. So you can take old sets that you have and just use those to augment what you're doing. These are your cards, and use them the way you want them. You design them. They're your design. Everyone's design should be different. So, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this apart, and I'm going to trim a little bit off of here. So I want to trim off, I'm going to trim a ½ an inch. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm going to layer this on a card front. So I'm going to trim another half this way. Okay, and then this one is on a piece of copper clay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this down 1/4 an inch, and then I can put that on a card front. Oops, there we go. So this is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and this one is 3 3/4 by 5. And so I'm going to score that at 4 1/4. And I cut this in half. This was an 8.5 by 5 by 8.5 by 11, so I cut it in half at 5.5. So I am just going to put these on here, layer this on, and I have my Seal adhesive. If you're new, Seal is our tape runner, and it's great. I actually use it to package, to help wrap my Christmas presents and birthday presents, and it drives my kids insane because they can't see the tape. Anyway, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to take one of these. I don't want those trees. I think what I'm going to do is take a couple of these trees and add these here. You could also take one of these cards. I didn't count. I think there's 9 cards in here. So I think there's 3 of each design. You could take one of these cards and cut one of the cards apart so that you had more of these trees so that they did match. If you don't want to use trees that don't look the same, because these are more of a cartoony type tree, whereas these are more of a realistic tree, more of a picture type of thing. But anyway, okay, so I'm going to actually cut this apart, and this will be tricky. And what I might do is put that, yeah, because I think the other trees are maybe just a little bit too cartoony or that type of tree. So I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to use, I have my fine tip glue pen. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and just run that on here. Oops. Try and grab some of the branches so that they can get them to lay flat. Okay, I'm going to flip that, and I'll put this like this. There we go. Okay, and what I like to do is I just take a block and let it sit on there for a minute. And I'm going to take, so these particular trees had this greenery that came with it as well. And so I'm going to put some of that on here. So I like that. So let's put a message on this one. There we go. And I'll just cut that down a little bit. I don't like when they're really long and they cover up some of the card, especially with a card like this that has the really pretty scenery with it. I know, I like this tree better too, Rose. The cartoony tree is fine for Christmas, you know, a Christmas card that's got that flavor to it, but I didn't think about that when I went to grab that set. Okay, so I'm just going to trim this down a little bit because I don't want to cover up everything. Okay, and I'm going to slip that under there. There we go. And you can tell I had ink on my fingers. So, okay, let's add a few embellishments. Okay, there we go. And what I would do is put a piece of white on the inside. Since this is a color. Okay, and what I could do is, these are the stamps. So we have the compass and the boot. So since this is a woodsy type card, let's use the boot. It's definitely not, it fits with the scene if you're doing hiking, but it's kind of out of proportion. But anyway, it's a little bit large because this is a scene. So, okay, so there is one. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to make a boho blue background. So I'm going to cut this in half at 5.5. Okay. We'll make sure that that part gets covered up. There we go. Okay, and now what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to use a piece of white that I cut, 4 inches by 5.25. And I'm going to cut this apart. I want to cut, again, a 1/2 inch off. Okay, and then actually this is pretty. This has got that mauve, it's got some the mauve and the flowers there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create kind of a window type of. So the key to doing this type of card is to keep these in order so you don't lose the picture of it. So now I'm going to put this back together. Cut it apart so I can put it back together. How's that? I'm going to start over here and I'm going to layer this. Okay, that's better. Okay, and then I'm just going to leave a little bit of a space and I'm going to do this. Okay, and then this, I'm going to have to trim a little bit. So I need to trim about a 1/2 inch off of that since we've spread these out a little. I'm actually going to trim off 3/8. Oops, and then I trimmed off too much. Okay, but that's okay. This will just trim this down. Anyway, you get the idea. So what you could do if you weren't doing this on Facebook Live is you could lay this out and then figure out what size piece of white you need. But since I'm doing this on Facebook Live, I don't quite have that. I guess I could do that. Just take me forever to lay it all out. Okay, I missed a spot there. So let's get that down. Okay, and now let's trim this just a tad. Yeah. Ooh, I need to replace my blade. Okay, so when your blade starts to lose its sharpness, you'll get these little, what do I call those? Almost looks like fur. Okay, I'm going to fix that. There we go. Okay, so now, oh, here's my card base that I did. Okay, so I'm going to add this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim a little bit off over here. So this card will not be an exact size, but it will be in proportion. And I've been known to do that before. That's pretty. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just trim this down. Oops. There is our, I like to call these window cards since it looks like it looks like you're looking through a window. And I am going to add a message to this. Let's put this, actually, again, I'm just going to use the happy birthday. I don't want to cover up any of this. I wish I had grabbed some vellum. And actually, as I said, I think that they would be great for masculine cards or Father's Day. Or if you have, I have some friends that love to hike. And go hiking all the time. So this, you know, something like this would be great for them. This would be a great anniversary card for them because they have been hiking all around the country. This country, the U.S., I should say. Okay, and so for the inside, and I just found my other dimensionals. They were under my tape. Okay, so for this, I'm going to, let's see, what does this would be great. Life is meant for good friends and good adventures. So I like that. That's good. In fact, these friends that love to go hiking, I went out to Sedona with them a few years ago. Oh boy, that was like, wow. That was a while ago. I'm dating myself. Okay, I'm going to put the camper in here because they have a camper and they go all around to all the national parks. So, there we go. Okay, so here's card number 2. And card number 3 is this one. I think that one's beautiful too. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down to 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I'm going to score this at 4 1/4. Okay, so I want to take this, and what I wanted to do was I was going to take part of this, and let's take the boho blue piece. And so if I do, let's take 3 3/4 inches. Again, I'm working off the top of my head, so that can be dangerous. Okay, so I took 3 3/4 inches, so I'm going to cut this into 3 pieces that are 1 1/4. Okay, I'm going to cut a couple of 1 1/4 inch, or I'm going to cut this a little bit wider. Cut that extra strip off there. Okay, so I'm going to do a little over 1 1/4, not quite 1 1/2. And I think I know what's going to happen here. I think it's going to be too wide because I didn't give myself enough room. I wanted to add another, not another layer, but just another, introduce another color to it. Okay. You guys are probably thinking, what is she doing? She's nuts. But then anyone that knows me knows I'm nuts. So anyway. Okay, here I go. I've reversed it again. Okay, so now I'm going to add this piece here. Is that straight? That's straight. I add this piece here. And I'm going to add this piece here. Oops. Okay. And what I like to do with something like this where it's going to hang over a little bit, I'm just going to trim this. I flip it over and I use the edge to trim everything so it's all even. Okay, so let's put this on here, like so. Oops. There goes. And somehow I was trying to figure out how to get some ribbon on here, and I'm not sure how to do that. Without losing some of the design. But anyway, okay, is to hold on to the spots. And there's actually some uninked spots in the catalog. So you can buy that if they come in sets of 5. And then you can buy the reinkers. And what I do is I use these when I'm traveling. So since I travel a lot, my sister's in Virginia and my brother-in-law's been sick, so I go down to Virginia quite a bit. And so I take these when I'm traveling, and I don't have to worry about carrying all these huge ink pads. There we go. Okay. There is a stamp. Where'd the stamps go? There's a stamp for the compass. And so I grabbed one of my circle punches, and let's punch this. Pebbled Path. And what I did is this is the 1 3/8 inch punch. And so I made that a little bit bigger so that I can trim around it and get that little loop that hangs off. So I'm just going to trim around this. So I think that this would be, if you were just cutting the circle, if you didn't want to get the loop on it, probably a 1 inch circle would work, or a 1 1/8 inch circle would work. And I'm just going to put that, I'm going to put a little bit of seal on one side of that so I can kind of hang it off of here. All right, there we go. So there's our cards. Okay, so thank you so much for stopping by tonight, and I hope you have enjoyed this. Take care.